Hey there, friend. Welcome to It's Me, Michelle Castro, the podcast. If you're here, then you're probably like me. You're a wife and a mom, and very likely running a business or two, chasing after that elusive balance everyone seems to be talking about. But really and truly at the core of it all, your deepest desire and number one top priority is to serve and honor the Lord, your God, Jesus Christ. If that's you, I see you, and you're in the right place. Here's the thing I found over the last 50 years on this earth. The things of this world are fighting against us Christians at every single turn. So friend, if your deepest desire is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, if you want to be the wife your husband needs and the mom your kids crave, then I'm going to go out on a limb and boldly say, it's no accident you're here. And it's not because I've got 5 easy steps to get your life in order, but rather it's because I'm a sinner saved by grace, learning each and every day what it means to stop striving for the things of this world and instead seek the face of the Lord, my God, my King, my Redeemer. If you're ready to grow a life against the grain of this world, then sis, hit subscribe because you're not going to want to miss an episode. So go grab that coffee that's been beeping at you from the microwave, or better yet, just pour it over some ice, grab a straw, and let's get started. Okay, you're wondering, I thought you were only doing one episode a week, and you're right, I am. This is a special bonus because holy stinking cow, we have hit 100,000 downloads. My mind is quite literally blown, and the fact that we're starting off this month of September with 100,000 downloads under our belt is absolutely amazing. And yes, I am using our we multiple because it's not me. Sure, it's my voice that you hear, but this does not happen in a vacuum. Like, it does not happen just because I decided, oh, I'm going to do this thing, and boom, there it goes. I have friends who have been podcasting longer than I have and have, 20,000 downloads, which is insane. Like, that's incredible. Imagine if in a year or 2 years or 3 years, you could reach 20,000 people, have heard your voice and your message and what you have to say. Like, mind blowing, right? I always love that analogy. We get frustrated. Like, maybe we did a post and, only 3 people liked it. Well, what if you were sitting in Starbucks with those 3 people and they were like, Julie, that is amazing. I love what you're doing. You would feel like, oh my gosh, this is so great. But for some reason, we look at this, social media or whatever it happens to be, and we think, oh, well, that's just not enough. That's not enough people. I want hundreds of thousands or whatever. Isn't it just our human nature to just not be satisfied with those things? So I have really tried along the way to celebrate each milestone, but I have failed miserably because too often I've been like, well, 5,000 is great, but it's not 10,000, and 10,000 is great, but it's not 20,000, and also not having really a frame of reference. Like, what does that mean? Like, what is normal? What is atypical? Is this faster growth? And then there's somebody that, launches a podcast and in 6 months they hit 50,000 downloads. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm a loser. No, you're not. Anyways, I just am blown away by what the Lord has done with my voice, my mouth that gets me into so much trouble otherwise. And yet he's found a way to use it for good. And so many of you have shown up and you are faithful listeners. I'm curious to know how many of you have been around since episode number 1. I don't even want to go back and listen to them because I'm sure they're a little cringy. You learn how to do things smoother and whatever, but I'm stinking proud of myself for trying some hard things, which I wanted to share like 5 different things that I have learned through this podcast. And one of them is just being willing to try something new and hard. And really the biggest thing for me has been listening to the Lord's leading. When God puts something on your heart, you got to do it, right? I never, ever, 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 ever intended to podcast. And if you've listened for any length of time, especially at the beginning, I shared that there were two girls that were in a networking group that I was a part of, and they talked about starting a podcast, and they were going to talk about plants. And inside to myself, I giggled. I guffawed, and since I don't have a poker face, I'm sure it was pretty obvious. I would be terrible. No poker face over here. But I totally was like, who would listen to that? And here's what I know is people will listen to anything because we all have different interests. Maybe I should listen to their podcast because I can't really grow things. Although, side note, I did buy this really cute little plant from Trader Joe's, and I was determined that I was going to water it. I know, so basic, but I have, and it keeps growing. It's amazing. There must be some sort of correlation. Anyways, so fast forward from these girls telling me I am frustrated with my business. I started listening. One night I was scrolling Instagram, probably I think at like 2 a.m, found this woman who is a video coach because I was like, that's what I got to be doing differently, right? I got to be showing up. I got to be doing the reels, got to be doing all the things, whatever. And so I start taking her course. Her name is Virginia Kerr. If you are looking to grow if you just get better at video, follow her. She's amazing. Virginia Kerr, Kerr. And so I was part of her group, and she brings on her business coach, and in comes this Steph Gass, who it was hysterical to me because she was kind of disheveled. Like, her hair was not perfect. She was cute, but she was just like in a t-shirt and like nothing special. And in my way of thinking, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I am showing up for one of my students, and I'm going to my hair's going to be all done because, side note again, my theme song in life, sadly, is I'm So Vain. I know it's You're So Vain is the song, Carly Simon, but in my head, it's I'm so vain. I like to make sure that I am done and ready and all the things. So she comes in, and it was so incredibly refreshing because she just wasn't. She didn't care. She knows what she's doing. I mean, she looked cute. Like, she wasn't in her PJs and she didn't have curlers in her hair or anything, but she just was like, she was her. She was authentic before we were all talking about being authentic. In that short little convo, she talked about podcasting, and I felt like I had a 1,000-pound elephant sit on my chest, and I was like, what in the world is this? And I really prayed about it and determined that, you know what, I think this is what the Lord wants me to do. And immediately, of course, that story came to my mind about the girls that I had, laughed at. And never to their face, of course. Let me just be very clear. I did it not so that they could see me. And here's what I've learned. When God puts something on your heart, you got to do it. You got to do it. But also, the third thing that I've learned is that you can make your plans, but the Lord directs your steps, right? My plan when I started podcasting was to monetize the heck out of this. This was going to be another stream of income because we all know entrepreneurs, they have multiple streams of income. I started right away, and I took a podcasting masterclass with Stephanie Gass. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, you definitely want to hang out with Steph. I have a code for you that you can use. I will link it in the show notes. And if I forget, email me. So my intent was to follow her business plan. Like, it had clearly worked for her. I was going to do coaching or a course, and I did both of those things, and I made almost $0. And I was like, okay, I was actually really ashamed because it didn't make sense to me. So after about a year of podcasting, I reached back out to her, and I was like, this does not make sense. Like, my downloads are insane. However, there's a disconnect. Like, I'm not seeing that conversion. And so we kind of reworked things. I decided to take the mastermind again or the master class again, because she had changed things. And I was like, okay. And as I went through it the second time, I was like, you know what? I need to actually let the Lord lead this horse, because I'm all for taking, just going and taking bold steps. And sometimes that's what the Lord wants you to do. And sometimes what I was doing in my case was I was like, hey, God, so this is what we're going to do. You coming? You coming along? Because this is what she says to do. So I'm going to do this. And I was stepping out without the Lord's direction, without his approval, without him saying, yeah, no, this is exactly what I want you to do. I would pray, Lord, give me confirmation that I'm where you want me to be. And no joke, that same day, downloads would be through the roof. So I started realizing like, okay, no, he wants me to be podcasting. He wants me to be sharing things. He wants me to be encouraging women like myself to seek his face first and always. And what if he actually just wants me to do that and trust him and stop worrying about monetizing this thing? And what if he wants me to simplify things? And maybe monetization will come, maybe it won't. What if this is to be maybe more of a ministry than anything else? And over the last year, I have just been like, Lord, this is yours ever more than I ever was before. From the beginning, it was so obvious it was his. And I just said, okay, Lord, no, for reals, like this is yours. This is absolutely yours. And can I just tell you, like, the peace that I got, the fact that I even took July and part of August off is such a testament to the Lord, to him opening my eyes to, Michelle, you do not need to be on all the time. You need to take a break. You need to check your priorities. You need to trust me. And that's the journey he's had me on. And look what he's done through all of this. Sure, I went ahead and I created a course, which, by the way, everybody who went through the course, I ended up giving it away to more people than bought it. Everybody loved it. It was amazing. So things just did not connect. Like everyone's like, yes, this is exactly what we need. Oh, but yeah, I don't actually want to pay for it. So, okay. I've learned that I can't do everything, right? Sometimes I need to pivot, just like what I was talking about. And then I've also learned that there's power in honesty and authenticity, which I feel is what brings each of you back every week, because I've really tried not to sugarcoat things. I've done that before, and it's really hard on me because you're like just trying to keep everything's great. It's all great. It's all great. And I love this space because I feel like I can be completely and totally honest with you. And when I show up and I throw myself under the bus, if you will, you guys come back and go, thank you. Like I needed that. And really that was the reason why the rebrand, it's me, Michelle Castro, because that's what you get. Me. I'm going to tell you my ups, my downs, my lows, my highs, everything in between, the things that I've done wrong, i.e. just running ahead of the Lord. And he's like, that's great. I'm going to honor your obedience in doing the podcast, and you're going to see growth there, but you're going to keep being frustrated about the business side of things if you don't trust me. So I want to trust him, and I want to be honest with you guys. Like for 2.5 years, or 2 years really, I ran to build this business. And he was like, no, it's not really what I want, because you are neglecting your family, your first priority, to try and make a few bucks. And that's just not really where I have you. And to be abundantly clear, I will say this every single time, I don't think there's anything wrong with running a business and with monetizing your things. It's just not what he has for me right now. And if you feel peace and you're seeing growth and you're seeking the Lord and he is blessing your business right now, that's awesome. but we still have to check our priorities, right? And where things are. So, as always, it ended up a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but more than anything, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here week after week, whether this is your first episode you're listening to, or you've been here since the beginning, or somewhere in between. I just want to say thank you for faithfully downloading each and every episode. I am totally and completely humbled. I'm so thankful that the Lord opened my eyes to this avenue of podcasting. I love it. It's honestly, the first time I heard about it, I was like, you mean a radio show? Right? Because that's how old I am. Like we used to listen to the radio. Like, okay, my parents used to listen to they didn't have TV. They listened to the radio. So yeah, a radio show, right? But from the very beginning, my desire has always been to point you, women just like me, to Jesus Christ. Whether you are a wife or a mom, you're single, you're working, you're an entrepreneur, you're in ministry, you're whatever journey you're on right now, we can do nothing apart from Jesus Christ. Zero, zip, zilch, none of it. We have to partner with the Lord. And so, friend, wherever this finds you, if you feel like the pricking on your heart and the Lord saying, hey, sis, yeah, you need me in this. You've been running ahead of me. You've been going, and I'm not fully in it. Trust me, because I've got things for you that are going to be way better than maybe what you are thinking it should be. It's also the downside of social media is we have this expectation that may or may not be realistic. The fact is, the podcast has 100,000 downloads. I have 600 followers on Instagram. That's great. I have, a couple thousand followers on Facebook, and that's mainly because I've been on that stinking thing since the very beginning. My DMs don't blow up. I don't have emails all over the place. And I think for myself, I've always thought, well, in order to be successful, I have to measure it a certain way. And I've said this before, success is measured individually. Your success, you get to define what success looks like. And for 100,000 downloads, I'm going to call that success. Yeah, would I like some monetary fallout on that? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? The Lord has provided. He's provided my needs. I'm okay. I don't need that necessarily. I'm not going to be upset if he provides it, but I needed for myself, I needed to really set my expectations realistically and realize that, you know what? I'm not Stephanie Gass. I'm not Virginia Kerr. I'm not some of these other people. It's okay. I'm Michelle Castro. And the Lord has a plan for me that is unique because I'm unique. And he has things for me that, you know what? Maybe it looks differently. So friend, I just want to encourage you wherever you're at, trust the Lord. Trust the Lord for all of it because your path might look like the typical straight up trajectory and it might not. And it might look somewhere in between. I mean, yeah, but thank you. 100,000 downloads, all praise and glory be to God because this is his. It is not mine at all. Let me pray. Dear gracious Father, I thank you so much for each woman, each person who you have brought to this podcast because it blows my mind that 100,000 times somebody would download this podcast that you created, that you ordained for me. You've used my mouth as just a vessel. Thank you, Father. Thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your kindness, your generosity. Lord, I thank you for each of these women, and I just pray that you would go before them. I don't know where she's at right now. I don't know where she's frustrated and things aren't going exactly as she had planned. It's not picture perfect. Lord, help her to trust you. Trust you that your plan is so much better than some business coach's plan, some Instagram coach, some whatever the world is calling it. You have a plan. Help her to trust you, Father. And in your Son's precious name, amen. Okay, I'll see you guys Tuesday. Really quick, before you go, would you take a second to subscribe to the podcast? Wherever you are listening right now, go find out how you can subscribe. That way you're not going to miss a single episode. And secondly, if you like what you're hearing, would you leave me a review? A 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would mean so much to me. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.